Today I want to talk about the most feminist Disney princesses. Number 11, I have put Snow White. Oh, hey sketchy old woman here with a creepy cloak and some sketchy food that I've never met before showing up in my kitchen window out of nowhere even though I didn't invite you. Yeah, I'll take a bite of your food. I put Snow White here because she doesn't actually do anything in the movie. Like, she's there, but pretty much everything happens to her. She doesn't actually do anything of her own conscious will. Something that we realized when we were trying to come up with this list, and I was thinking about Aurora and Snow White, both of them have a very almost biblical sense about them in that they both kind of do the temptation of Eve and the downfall of man. Snow White very literally takes a bite of an apple and dies. You know, that's kind of problematic because woman takes down the film because she was tempted by something. Aurora, kind of the same thing. She pricks her finger on the needle of a sewing spindle thing, and suddenly the whole movie goes downhill. And everyone has to save everyone, and there's a dragon, and there's fire, and there's a prince trying to get through brambles, and it just is a big mess. They're actually a lot more similar than I thought they were. Number 10, Aurora. Same with the creatures. The prince. So illegal. Aurora is really cool. She's a cool princess. She can dance, she can sing, she can walk barefoot through a forest without stepping on any thorns, which is kind of miraculous. She also is able to communicate with forest animals and dance with them, and that's kind of cool. I wish I could do that. The thing about Aurora is that she is asleep for half the movie, and for the first half of the movie, she's just in the forest not knowing what's going on. So, kind of like Snow White, she really doesn't make a lot of her own decisions, which is kind of important when you're talking about a feminist princess movie. They need to be able to be independent and do their own thing, and she doesn't do a whole lot of that. She falls in love with the prince, then pricks her finger on a spindle because she was cursed, and then after that she just kind of goes to sleep. Number 9, I put Cinderella. Yes sir, I do have a resume. Now, while it does primarily say cleaning services on it, I also have an alternate resume that says cleaning services. What do we think about that? Cinderella is an amazing princess. Everybody loves her because she can dance in glass shoes and not break her heels. She's just really cool. But she spends most of the movie being a housemaid and being super subservient. And then she goes to a ball where she falls in love with a prince, but even then she's like, I can't really tell him who I am because I'm just this lowly princess girl, and then she ends up marrying him, and that's kind of her whole story. Cinderella does have one thing going for her though, in that she is very, very kind through all of the cruelty that is put upon her, and that's why she has a higher spot than Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, because she does have the character trait of incredible empathy. Number 8 is Ariel. Ariel is such an interesting princess. It's hard because she does spend most of the movie not speaking and using her body to gain the attention of the only male in the film that can free her, kind of. But she does save that same guy in the very beginning when she rescues Prince Eric from the ship, and she also does go against her dad's wishes in saying that she doesn't want to just get married and stay in her female role as a princess, so she goes up on land all on her own and does all this stuff by herself, which is why I gave her this number. Number 7 is Belle. Oh, I'm not like other girls. I like to read philosophy. A lot of people argue with me that Belle is super feminist because she likes to read, she's very smart, she does her own thing, her dad's an inventor, she does all this stuff on her own, and I love that. That is really cool. She also is really self-sacrificing. She saves her dad from the beast and puts herself in his place, and that's just really cool. My only problem with Belle is that she very much does the me versus other girls thing, where it's like an I'm not like other girls, I can read and I can do all this smart stuff. The thing with that though is that the only other girls in the film that are portrayed as the girls that like makeup and like to do things that are very considered feminine are the 3 blonde girls, and they're portrayed as really stupid, and they like Gaston, and their only role is to sing in unison and kind of be the stupid offshoot type of girl, and like that's kind of not cool. So Belle's great, but she gets number 7. Number 6 is Jasmine. Actually, I don't really want to do that. That doesn't seem like a very nice list. Oh, would you look at that? Handcuffs. Jasmine does spend most of the film imprisoned by people. She's Jafar's prisoner, she's a prisoner of the system, she has to marry a prince, do all this stuff like that. But that said, she doesn't want to go the traditional route. She wants to be able to rule on her own without having to marry a prince. She doesn't like any of the suitors that are coming after her with money and like throwing all this stuff at her that really is not important to her. She wants somebody with heart. So I think that she gets number 6 because she's independent in her values and she doesn't like the system that she has to be a part of. Number 5, I put Rapunzel. Woo! point. Rapunzel does a lot of stuff of her own free will, and this is something that we don't see super often in some of the earlier princesses. The earlier princesses, like I said before, kind of have a lot of stuff happen to them, but they don't do a lot of stuff on their own. And Rapunzel chooses to leave her tower, she chooses to go with Flynn, she does control most of the story. She is very in control of the situation, and she knows what she wants, and she goes for what she wants, and I love that about her. Plus, just like, girl has awesome hair. Number 4 is Elsa and Anna. Dude, seriously, stop running away, I'm trying to tell you something. Yeah, you're gonna have to come back another time, I'm kind of freezing things right now. Little busy. I think that Anna knows herself extremely well. She knows what she likes, she knows what she doesn't like. She's very into female empowerment. She wants to help Elsa. There's no sense of competition there, which is really important. She's all about collaboration. Anna does choose her own suitors, and even though she does kind of choose wrong, spoiler alert, she does make her own path, and she chooses based on who she loves, and that's really important. Elsa doesn't even have a prince. Girl don't need no man. She goes to a mountain all on her own and becomes this huge queen, doing all of these things by herself, figuring out who she is, because what's important to her is herself. And that's really important to realize, that independence is more important. It's more important to know yourself before you go into a relationship, where past princesses, their entire life was based off of their relationship. Number 3 is Merida. Now, this one's kind of hard because I know a lot of people are going to argue that she should be number 1 on this list. She is extremely feminist, she goes her own way, she fights for her own hand in marriage, and the thing that I really like about this movie is that the message is that as long as you choose your own path, it is a feminist movie. Like, that's what feminism is about. It's about choosing your own path and having the ability to choose. And so her mom is very like for the domestic spouse role, and Merida's very for the independent fighter role, and the whole movie is about them coming together and realizing that both of these things are okay and they can coexist, and as long as you choose that as your future, then it's absolutely correct. My problem with Merida is that she didn't really get put in a very feminist setting. This movie to me was kind of Brother Bear reiterated with a girl, and where other films, which I'm going to get to in a second, the female protagonist gets to actually go out and do the things that the princess did in the past films, I felt like this was a very limited setting for her to actually show herself. And so as a character, she's extremely feminist, but the story and the universe she was put in didn't really give her the opportunity to show that to everybody as well as it possibly could have. Number 2 is Dianna. Okay, you know what? I actually don't have time for this. I'll see you later. Man, do I love Dianna. She not only is a woman and has to go in this society that says that women can't own things and women can't have their own restaurant, which she totally does in the end, she also is fighting against racism in a time when it was like really looked down upon for her race to be able to do anything. Plus she gets turned into a frog, speciesism. She just does everything. She's a really hard worker, and she believes that if you try hard enough and you actually work hard enough, you can get to where you want. Even though that's a lot easier said than done, especially today, and you know, it's not as simple as just going out and working hard. You actually have to have a tremendous amount of other influences on it. She shows that you can do your own thing against all odds, even when society's telling you you can't. She basically takes care of her prince the entire movie and gets her restaurant in the end and does all the work to get there. Number 1 on my list of most feminist Disney princesses is Mulan. A girl worth fighting! You know, that's really not the point of war. We shouldn't be fighting for girls anyway. I mean, how could I not? This is my sword, by the way, and this is my mustache. Mulan saves all of China. I can see why she did it. It's actually quite comfortable. No hair on my neck. If I had a sword, I would definitely chop it all off. She kicks butt at saving China, and she ends up saving her prince multiple times. Also, like, okay, if we could just chop off our hair with a sword and it came out as a perfect bob like that, I think everyone would be getting swords. Can we talk about that? She doesn't care about romantic interests. She's not in it for any kind of personal glory. She's in it because she actually wants to save the life of her dad and the life of her people, and she wants to do good. So she goes out and does it. And then she gets awarded for it, and she's still humble about it, and that's amazing. Mulan chooses her own path, and she's a fighter, and she understands that everyone is valuable no matter their beliefs or where they come from or who they are. And I think that she deserves this spot. So honorable mentions, people that didn't make the list but I definitely have to mention because I just think they're really cool and I think that they deserve a spot in this video. I know that we're talking about human princesses, but if I didn't mention Judy Hopps, I would be very mad at myself. If you haven't seen Disney's new movie Zootopia, go see it immediately. Judy Hopps is one of the greatest female characters ever created, and she goes off and does her own thing, and I think she's one of the most feminist people that Disney has ever made. Also, I have to mention Jane Porter from Tarzan because she's basically based off Jane Goodall, who is my #1 role model, and I just love her, and I think that she does her own thing, and Clayton goes there only to exploit the animals and use their pelts as money and all their dead bodies. He wants to kill them, and her dad interprets her research. She's really the one going there doing all the research, much like Jane Goodall did in the 1960s, and I just think that's really cool and I have to mention her. Also, I'm really excited to see Disney's new movie Moana, because from the little previews I saw at D23, she looks like she's gonna be a super strong female character. She seems super well-rounded, and her adventure seems awesome. The universe that she's set in seems to have a really good storyline for her to actually go out and take hold of. So we'll see how that one goes, but Moana might very well make the list. Thank you guys this week for watching. Amy, your challenge for this week, since I know you're learning to juggle, is to be able to juggle 3 eggs. And you can't hard boil them, they have to just be eggs. Why? Because why not? I would love to see you drop an egg in the kitchen.
Ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da.